it's a sliding scale. You've got convenience and you've got security. And it's your choice where to go in there. I go towards convenience more than security, but this is going to be very secure. But the coolest part about it is when it makes this new password in iCloud, the new keychain on the iCloud, it can generate a virtually uncrackable password. Instead of your dog's name with 2 numbers after it, it's going to generate this long password that you don't have to remember, because whenever you go to that website, it'll fill it in for you. And it will also let you store your credit card information on there, so when you go to a website, instead of having the website store your credit card, which you are sometimes at risk for, it does it here and it'll fill it in, and off it goes. The other thing, and this is really more like for the people in the PC, the unfortunate people that have PCs, there's programs called keyloggers that can watch what you type. Okay? It watches what you type. Because this would automatically fill in the password, you're never typing the password, so a keylogger couldn't see what happens. So it's very, very secure. It's going to be good. In the meantime, there's a wonderful program for this. It's called LastPass. But to be honest, I was going to go do LastPass, but now that I hear this is coming up, I say, what the heck? And LastPass is free, or if you decide to donate and get premium service, it's $1 a month, and it remembers your passwords. Bart?
So Tim, with this keychain, if someone steals my computer, it goes onto the website, will it automatically fill all that stuff in? And how does that work?
That brings up a very good point. If they get into your computer and you do not have your computer locked with a password, yes, they can. But here's the interesting thing. Apple, in iOS 7, and we think they're going to do something like it in Mavericks, but on your iOS device, iPad, iPhone, etc., is going to have this authentication lock. So if you find out your iPhone, there's a huge aftermarket on iPhones because people want to buy them without a contract. And the thieves know that. And there's been some real incidents of people, you know, I'm a big guy and people don't usually intimidate me, but I can remember when I've been, in Arizona, I was on the little thing that's like Bart. And I'm like, you know, I try to keep it a little hidden. I make sure I have a black headphone instead of the iPhone headphone and stuff, because I don't want it, I'm not going to get hurt. I just don't want them to steal my phone. But now what will happen is in iOS 7, which any iPhone 4, iPhone 4S, and iPhone 5, iPad mini, iPad 3 and 4, and 4th generation and newer iPod Touch will have iOS 7. And what happens is if you find your phone is lost or stolen, you can go onto the iCloud website and say, boom, it's stolen. And now that phone cannot be unlocked or activated by anyone without your iCloud username and password. It's locked solid. So that stolen phone no longer has value. There's no way they can get around it. If it happens, you forget your password and you go to Apple, I've got my password, but it's blocked. Sorry. You can restore it with your computer, but still, that's going to be a big thing because they'll have no value aftermarket. More iPhones than iPads because a lot of iPads are not connected to the internet persistently. So that's going to help with that, and you can completely lock it out. And you can also erase it remotely. So back to my page here. Or it won't keep your phone from falling and dropping and breaking, but I have my phone number and then the Apple Store and Apple Care Tech Support on there. And then the second page of this is, those of you on Macs, it's a bunch of keyboard shortcuts. So it's free, just print it out. So that's at kenspencer.com, and it was under Mac Sheet. But the rest of the time, if you go to the MacNexus header, and you click on that, that's on the way into Yosemite, you have all the classes I do are recorded right here, and they're on YouTube. I'm sorry, they're boring as heck, but at least you don't have to look at me. You see my screen, and you hear us talking, and you hear all of that. But it's everything we do in the class, completely unedited, because there's no way I'd get it up if it was edited. I'll probably have these posted to the internet sometime tomorrow, the classes for today. So when we take our break, remind me to stop the recording, and then we'll go from there. Then, if you go on down here, it says go to archive. Yes, I'm old, I'm archived. And this is a list of all the classes. But if you go down to here, we talk about Apple hardware, time machine, and printer. That was in March. So if I click on that, I talk about a printer that's out there, a Brother printer. For when it's on sale, it's $60. It's usually $99.99. It's on sale for $59.99. If you email me at ken@empowermac.com, I'll find out. Every Sunday, it's a different at Staples or whatever. Staples, Office Max, Office Depot. But if you click on this link to the ink, $7.68 for ink. For 10 of them. So, the scam of this, the legal scam is, well, the question always comes up. These are generic cartridges, but on the Brother printer, it allows generic cartridges quite well. Other printers don't like generic cartridges so well because they have little computer chips in them, because they don't make money on the printer, they make money selling you the ink. This is not a photo printer. It does kind of okay photos, but it's great for just printing stuff. You have a laser, so you don't necessarily need this, because a black and white laser, has low printing costs. Color lasers are expensive. Black and white lasers print cheap. I have a black and white laser, and I'm Mr. Cheap Guy. So what happened is I now print with my color inkjet, and it's the same cost or less than I print from my laser. So people always say, Ken, I've heard generic cartridges. Sometimes you get bad ones. And you paid how much for that cartridge? Okay, you might have got one bad one out of 10. I doubt it. In all the people I've had do this, we haven't had bad cartridges. But if you do, or if you just feel like making a little money, you go over to Staples, and they'll give you $2 for a cartridge, empty or full. So you become an ink launderer. And the stipulation, Staples has changed it now, though. So those of you with photo printers know your ink's pretty expensive, right? So what you can do is, with Staples, to get the $2 credit per cartridge, every 180 days, what's that, 6 months, I believe? Yeah, every 6 months, you have to buy $30 in ink to be able to get these two coupons, or the $2 coupons, and I think you can get up to 10 per month of the $2. So what you're doing is, you're buying the cartridges for 90 cents, 80 cents, and you're turning them in, so you're making $1.20 on every cartridge you turn in, and you can use that to buy your photo ink cartridge or your laser cartridges, $30 worth every month. So it's a scanner, printer, fax. It even prints directly from your iPad and your iPhone, and it's completely wireless. And it's $60 if you want to get the $150 one that does prints on both sides and prints directly on CDs. You need the next model up, and when it's on sale, it's $99, but it will print directly on CDs. This one is a Brother. All right. Brother, and it's an MFC J430W, but at Best Buy, it's the J435 or 425. And the one that prints on both sides is a Brother MFC. Is this two? Can you guys see this okay? J825DW. And at Best Buy, it's the 835DW. They're all wireless. They'll print directly from your iPhone or iPad. This stands for duplex, which means prints both sides wireless. This one's just wireless. This one normally is $99, but you can find it on sale for $59 or $69. Again, tomorrow is when all the ads change for all those places. So, just when you're ready to buy the printer, email me. I'll check. I've got all my searches right on them. This one is normally $149, and when it's on sale, it's $99. And I love this printer, especially because some people put their printers up a little high. This one has an articulating screen, so you can actually see it a little bit better. But it is a fax, it's a scanner, it's a copier, and it's a really cheap printer. And so they all come with starter cartridges, so what you want to do, immediately go to Amazon, and you can go to my ink link. All right, and otherwise, that's where all the other things are. Okay, so if you become an ink launderer, you should be proud of that because it's all legal, all right? Doesn't mean you can't use generic ink on the other printers that are out there, but it sometimes is problematic. But if you think about it, who here goes and has their ink cartridges refilled? Wow. Costco, Fry's, places like that do it for about $9 a cartridge. For $9, I get 10 cartridges.
I did it once or twice and they didn't last very long. That was my experience.
Yeah. These are full. I think these cartridges are listed like they're the normal cartridges, and in fact, the blacks are bigger. They work for, they say under normal, what they say 5% coverage. These are good for 600 pages. These are no different than the OEM cartridges that you would get from Brother as far as how full they are. The nice thing is the Brother is really, it doesn't lock it up if you run out of ink either. It can continue to print. I had an Epson that I couldn't even scan if it said my ink cartridge was too low. Come on, I just want to scan, I don't even want to print. Or you want to maybe cheat and just print black, and if the yellow's out, it wouldn't let you do it. Exactly. So why, just like I'm going to talk about, don't be a slave to your printer. We're going to talk in a minute about don't be a slave to your internet provider. Okay? So those can all be gotten at kenspencer.com about the printers, but also feel free to email me when you're ready to get a printer. Now, think about that. If you can buy the printer for $60, that's about 3 cartridges on your current printer. So before you go buy cartridges for your current printer, do that. But now, if you have a photo printer, keep your photo printer for printing photos. Use this to fund the ink for your photo printer. Okay? And then you only have to use your photo printer for printing photos. Not that I got to have directions to the map to get up to the, Bob's Burgers we talked about where you did your order online, right? Okay? Any questions on that? All right, we're going to dig in. Covering mail. Now, I want to get a show of hands. Actually, we have some new people here today, I think. Not too many. Anyway, I come out, I'll pop up in Power Mac while that's loading. So I can come out and do one-on-one tech support. I do a lot of remote tech support. My posted rates are $75 for the first hour, $50 for each additional, which is about half of what other people charge. My current rate for MacNexus, and I don't know how much longer I can keep this, is $50 for the first hour, $35 for each additional. But I can also do online tech support, and that's at a base $35 rate. And I break it up. It's not like 1 minute into the second hour, you don't get charged for the full hour. So. But I also am happy to answer questions. If you email them to me, a lot of times you'll have little things that are stymied, and I'll sometimes send you back links and pictures and stuff, or sometimes I'll just send you to a page that has the answer to your question. So, who here has Comcast or Xfinity as their internet provider? Okay. AT&T, SBC Global? Okay. Sure West? Okay. And I know we have Wave. Everybody else? Who else? You have Wave also?
Comcast.
You have Comcast, Xfinity? Okay, great. Any provider that I forgot? Earthlink, right? AOL. So you're using AOL for your connection, or do you have a different connection? Okay. So here's the deal. Your internet provider gives you an email address for free. And that used to be the way it was because there weren't other alternatives. And that's a good thing because they give you it for free. But the problem is, it can also be a hindrance and a problem. Because what happens if you use your internet provider's email address, Bob and Mary at Comcast.net, Bob and Mary at AT&T, Bob and Mary at SBC Global. What happens if at some time you either move, let's say you move from AT&T to the Sure West area, or you move to, like my friends just moved to Oregon, and they don't have AT&T up there. Or what happens if Bob and Joe's Internet, that same guy that we bought burgers from a minute ago, Bob and Joe's Internet comes along and offers you 3 times the speed for 1/3 the price. Well, I don't know because everybody's got my email address and I'd hate to change it. It's money! And you want to make sure that you're portable. It's just like you no longer have to have one phone provider at home. You can change your number, right? Or you can port your number over to different carriers. You can do it on cell phones, you can do it on your home phone. You need to be portable with your email address. When I say portable, I don't mean that you have to quit the one you're using because everybody has it, but there's no time better than today to go ahead and start transitioning to a different email address. And there's a couple choices out there. Some are better than others. Now, those of you on SBC or AT&T, they have a quasi-partnership with Yahoo, and you go to Yahoo to get in there. But recently, AT&T wants to start kind of handling some of that their own, and on June 10th, they made people change what their email settings were. I had clients that couldn't even log into it via the browser. Oh, that brings up another question. So, who here uses a browser like Safari or Firefox to check your mail? Okay, you don't use the Apple Mail program, the little postage stamp? Okay, well, we're going to go over that today because it's better. And if you're on Yahoo, for anyway, SBC, ATT, etc., and you use their home page, and you have a little bit older computer, it can shut it down and make it not work. I have a couple clients that basically they had older Macs. Remember the old lampshade iMac with the base on that? You could only go to 10.4. I had one client who, when AT&T or SBC installed their DSL, they put it so the home page automatically goes to Yahoo, which would be beneficial in most cases because that's where your email is. But as soon as they fired up their Safari, their computer would get the spinning beach ball. And normally that goes on for a while. This wouldn't stop. It would go for days. And they couldn't use their computer. And it's because Yahoo loves you so much. They want to make sure you see all these ads and these little dancing dolls and all these other things that I had to go into that computer and disconnect it from the internet and go in and physically change the home page for Safari because, again, when they fire up Safari, the first thing that comes up is the Yahoo page on automatic. They were to the point where they couldn't use their computer, and I'm serious, they could not use and they didn't need a new computer. They only used their computer like once a week. So why force them into that? But we disconnected it. We made them just get a good old Google homepage or something like that, and they were fine. But we also made it so Apple Mail checks their mail. And we'll talk about how that works in a second. But sounds like you've kind of had the same frustration.
I came today to hire you to come and...
I'm going to change you for free, okay? I'm the cheap guy and I'm not very smart, but you know. So what happens is the Yahoo homepage through your browser has a ton of things called Flash on it. And Flash is all the stuff that goes on. And you know what? It makes the fan on my computer go faster and everything else. And luckily, our iPad and our iPhones don't do Flash. So if you go to that page on your iOS device, you won't get slowed down as much because there is no such thing as Flash, which is good. Flash can just, it's terrible. Anyway, Yahoo doesn't like you, and they expose you to that. That's how come they offer free email. Google also offers free email, But their ads are very subtle and innocuous. But if you use Apple Mail, the postage stamp, oh, I got to get my pointer out. Excuse me. I'll be back in a minute. The postage stamp is Apple Mail. Now, how does this work? Who here feels intimidated by the cloud? Well, the cloud's this new thing that's come about, but you've been using the cloud for a long time. So, the way it works, can you guys see it here if I do? So, here's how mail works. M-A-I-L. Mail works. You've got your little computer here. So I'll go here. This is your computer, your little iMac with a little thing. And you're here checking your mail. Well, what happens is, this is got a computer up in the sky, and we're going to pretend like this is the post office, okay? And that's what it is. It's a mail server, M-A-I-L, mail server. Don't you women get any ideas about having an M-A-L-E server? So that's where, let's say we're using Comcast, just to make it easy. If I send you an email, it goes to Comcast server, okay? That's a fancy name for this computer box, okay? And we treat it like it's up on the cloud because you don't see it, so it must really be in the ether, right? Well, let's think about this in the real world. I like to de-geekify it. This is like a typical post office. But the difference is, let's say that at the post office, you have your home address and you get the mail delivered to your house. But we're going to add to it, if the Postal Service had a little box at the post office, that you could also check your mail by walking into there, like a P.O. box, but except your P.O. box is also the same as your home address. So, what happens when you use a browser like Safari or Firefox, and you're looking, it's like going to the post office and looking in your box to see your mail. If you read it, fine. If you delete it, it's gone. But the other option that this post office in the sky has is to send a copy of it to your computer. Send a copy, not get your mail, but send a copy of your mail. So again, you've got a post office. You can go in and look at it through your browser, but you can have it sent. The postman will deliver a copy to your house. That's the same as using the postage stamp, okay? That's what's called a mail client. And what that does is it goes out and it says, is there any new mail for me? If there is, bring me a copy. And now it exists on your computer. You've brought a copy down to it. Go ahead, Bart.
Is that what is happening on my iPad Mini in a sense?
Little bit different. Little different, and I'll get to that. Thanks. So it brings a copy. Now, sometimes your settings are such that after I get the copy, after a week or 30 days, once I've got the copy, go ahead and delete the old messages from up here. But Comcast, Yahoo, all of those work the same. If you have another device like an iPhone or an iPad, it also goes up, the little, on there it's an envelope instead of a postage stamp. It's Joyce? There you go. She's been good. She hasn't been, she's not. Are you going to the principal's office?
I need to know this.
Yeah, no, it's being recorded.
Thank you.
So this is the envelope instead of the postage stamp. So on your iOS device, this does the same thing. It says, give me a copy of the mail. The only thing different on your iOS device is don't feel like you have to delete it. Because Your iOS device will only show the 50 most recent messages. Now, see, I have 95 unread ones in my mailbox because I have 2 accounts in there. But your account will only show the 50 most recent. So if I delete an email, it'll just bring an older one in behind. What's the point? Go ahead.
Yeah, I was wondering, you're talking about, you say you want to make a copy of the email. Can you pick and choose, or is it automatically you have to choose all?
Good question. So, and I'll repeat the question so it's on recording. So the question is can I pick and choose what I want to do? Later on, when we talk about a better email account, you're able to, and we'll talk about how that works. But currently with the Yahoo and the SBCs, Yahoo, SBC, Comcast, SureWest, you go and bring a copy down, and it brings all of them. But the nice thing is then they're archived in your computer. And, of course, if you're using Time Machine, they're backed up and stuff. So at that point, if it gets taken off the server or deleted, you have a copy of it. Some people want that. Some people don't want that. But that's up to you at that point. Did that answer it? On the iOS device, though, it essentially is just bringing a preview of the email down. And not until you click on it has it really put the email here. But it's volatile. It doesn't stay on there because once it becomes the 51st message, it will scroll off the bottom and a new one goes there. But if I ever want to get to it, I scroll up, and at the bottom it says load more messages. Okay? I could load part of my 82,871 messages in just 2 of my accounts. Yes, I always thought I was a hoarder until I saw one of those shows. I'm more normal than I thought. As a surprise to you guys. Yes, ma'am.
On my regular computer, the regular one that I have at home, I delete and I put them into folders and stuff like that. But then when I get my iPad and I'm on the road, it didn't do anything.
Who's your email provider? Okay. If you go to Gmail, like we're going to talk about in a minute, your folders, so the post office becomes a smart post office, and your folders will propagate down to all your devices. And that's a different and better type of mail protocol. It's called IMAP, which is geeky for just means. The other thing is if you've noticed, if you have, who here has multiple Macs and or multiple devices? Okay, this is why you're here, because if you're using Comcast, Yahoo, any of those, it doesn't support multiple devices. You check it on the computer, and the little blue dot shows up on your iPad showing you haven't checked it. And then it's on your iPhone. And then on my other Mac, I thought I read this. I feel like Sybil sometimes, So realistically, if you use a sophisticated, more modern mail system, if I delete it, it doesn't show. It'll, in fact, delete it from my iPad and my iPhone and everything. If I forward it with a little, so forward is a straight arrow. You'll look on right here. That means I replied. That will show up on all my devices that I replied if I'm using an IMAP server, which would be Gmail. Okay. Now, Apple's iCloud does the same thing. Go, yeah.
Did you say that we should go to iCloud and delete our emails there?
You don't need to. If you're using iCloud, if you delete it on your device, it will delete it on the server. Okay? iCloud is IMAP. iCloud is free from Apple, but to be honest, I think Gmail does mail better. And the reason is it has a better spam filter. We're going to talk about that in a minute, but I want to get this wrapped around here. You want it to all interact. Now, people say, well, my iPhone doesn't sync with my computer in mail. Mail never syncs. What happens is they both talk when you use sophisticated mail, they talk in a two-way street to the server or that cloud. In other words, this one says, okay, I've deleted this message. Oh, okay, I'll delete it from here. And then that says, oh, we've deleted it from there. So they don't talk directly to one another. They talk as the server is the intermediary. Go ahead.
Sometimes the mail that's on the server does not show up on my device.
Who's your internet provider?
SureWest.
Right. So if you delete it on your computer,
No, if I did, yeah, no, I haven't deleted anything, but I'll see it. I'll see some mail came in on my computer.
and is it older than 30 days or a week old? A week old, maybe?
Not that old.
So if your setting says, as soon as I get a copy, so there's kind of three main settings. When I get my copy of my mail, delete it from the server immediately. Or, there's four settings. If I move it from my inbox, delete it from the server. Or, after 1 week, in other words, once I've downloaded it, after a week, delete it from the server. Or after 1 month, delete it from the server. So it may be taking it, it brings a copy down and it's immediately deleting it from the server. And that's why it doesn't show up here. And that's another reason. Now, SureWest people have the option, and I can set it up to do IMAP. But that doesn't forego the fact that you really shouldn't use SureWest. Even though SureWest is great, they just got bought. They might change their name by the new company. I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't use SureWest address. I use a Gmail address or I use a MacNexus.
And that's happening on that? Interesting. It might be a setting. We'll have to check. But on Gmail, it shouldn't do that. And the other thing is, Gmail gives you 10 gigabytes of storage for free. So there's no reason to delete things. That's why I have so many messages, because I know as soon as I delete a message, I'm going to need that email I just deleted, right? So that's the first step in Hoarders. So I call MacNexus a 12-step program for those of us Mac users. Well, I guess this is a 12-step program for semi-hoarders. Go ahead.
I have AT&T SBC program.
Which is such a long email address.
I know, well, I have a new one that's AT&T.
Yeah, and that causes problems.
But on I have the iPad and I have the iPhone. My mail doesn't come through, except I'm not sure.
It's not coming through on the iPad? Or not coming?
No, it says cannot get mail.
Yep.
And that's what it says.
It's because they really like you. They really care about you. So on June 10th,
But wait, at some point in
on June
time,
10th,
it
they,
comes through.
yeah, that's because their servers are so good. Fire them. They don't like you.
Yeah, well, okay.
So Gmail, you're less likely to have that happen. I'm not saying it's perfect, but it's usually pretty darn good. Hang on here, my phone got disconnected. There we go. Oop. There we go. All right. Go ahead.
Bothers me on Gmail that my current sent messages don't show up.
They actually do. So let's get into that. So everybody, have I convinced everybody you should use a different provider than what they're giving you? And it's really, it's become much more apparent now that we have multiple devices, because you want them to all coincide with one another. I mean, mail is a burden. Spam is a huge burden, and that alone is a reason to go to Gmail, because it has the best spam filter in the world. I like Mac Mail, but the spam filter sucks. Okay?
Mine doesn't get rid of it at all.
Well, there's not, but see, here's the deal with spam. The convenience versus security, it's spam, real messages. Somewhere in between, it needs to decide whether that's a filter. Let's say some person wants to send, they're having a big party and they send out 100 invites. Is that a spammer? They might be treated as a spammer, so it might end up. So the whole thing is, Apple says, let's make sure they get all their mail just in case, because you don't want to. It's that, where's that message? Google, on the other hand, by being the largest email provider, they know if all of a sudden there's 30,000 things saying, buy this blue pill from Canada, it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, they'll say, oh, that must be spam because there's 30,000 of those. Apple just doesn't, they're leaving the filtering up to you, and we have built-in junk for that, but I've recently had my Mac account, and I don't use it hardly anywhere, has had a ton of spam come into it. Spam is not your fault. Don't take it personal. Do you get, people get angry about getting spam. I get angry about it. Folsom Lake Nissan somehow put a wrong email address and kept giving. I kept hitting unsubscribe, unsubscribe. I have now called them twice because I just say, look, you guys are a legitimate business. I never have bought a Nissan from you. And in fact, I probably won't because I'm getting twice weekly emails from you. Take me off the list. I finally talked to the general manager and he said he'd take care of it. We'll see. So, and that actually, so that brings up the thing, should I unsubscribe when I get spam? Only if it's a legitimate business, because otherwise they're just going to say, cool, we got one, we got a real email address, let's use this. Only unsubscribe from real businesses, okay? The other ones, you have to just throw it in the box, say it's spam, and what happens is don't take it personal. My mom gets upset. She goes, why would they send this thing about a Russian wife?
Exactly.
Well, I got it too. And the guy sending it doesn't look anything like the girl they pictured. So, really,
So I shouldn't have.
don't take it personal. What you need to do is think of it like you get junk mail in your mailbox, okay? We've learned not to take that personal. You can decide to look at it if you want, or just throw it in the trash. Don't take it personal. You're not the only one getting it, okay? Now, because of that reason, I have a couple email addresses. I use one kind of as a throwaway email address that you go to these sites and they want you to look at something or read an article, they want an email address. I always have a bit of a suspect to that, so I give them my throwaway email address, and ironically, I get less spam on my throwaway email address than I do on most of my others. But
There's less traffic.
yeah, exactly. So anyway, we're going to show Apple Mail in a couple instances, and the first thing I want to do is, because I want to get to this before Alfredo leaves, is we're going to go into the Mail program on our Mac first, because it's easier to see. And what her question was is, what, let's just go, I'm sorry?
The sent items, they don't show up on the
Yeah, but let me do this first and then we'll get to that. Thanks, Barb. So what happens is I have multiple email boxes. You can see I have, actually I don't even have my big Gmail box on here, but I have an iCloud and I have an another one I use. Actually, I can just use that one. So anyway, somebody mentioned they have a little squiggly here sometimes, right in this area right here. That means your mailbox is offline, and it's either a password problem or happens regularly with Yahoo servers is they just happen to be offline. And how many of us have gotten that little box that pops up and says, we need your password, and you put it in, and you know it's the right password, and boom, it comes back. I need your password. Keep going. Step away from the computer, go like play solitaire or something, and then come back because their server is offline right then. Okay? Your password is fine. The problem is what usually happens is you think, well, I know it's my password. Well, it might not be that one. I enter this other one, and then it saves it in your keychain, and then it's the wrong password. So if you get it more than once, don't just start making up passwords. Just step away a little bit, and if you have to go get that mail, you can go to the website, gmail.com, comcast.net, surewest.net, one of those, and use the browser to look at the mail sometimes. But it just means there's a hitch in there, and Yahoo gets it a lot, okay? So don't freak out about it. And don't start throwing a bunch of passwords at it, because it will remember the password you threw at it, and then next time when it does get connected, it won't. You'll sometimes on SBC Yahoo, you'll say, can't verify certificate or anything. Just always hit connect anyway. It's on their end. Bart?
Now, with Gmail account, do you go to Mail to look at your Gmail, or do you go directly to Gmail?
I use Mail all the time. And the reason I use Mail is because it interacts with all my other Apple apps, which we're going to show in a minute here. Because Mail, if I use Mail all the time, and I send somebody an email, I type in their email address, it'll remember that address next time. Whereas if you're using, now, that brings up a great question is, if you've got a bunch of Yahoo contacts, or a bunch of Comcast or SureWest contacts, we can go into the website and export all those contacts and bring them into your address book or contacts on your Mac. And the cool thing is then it goes to your iPad and your iPhone. That's a little bit to do, but it's part of that whole transition, okay?
It's a little detailed, but when you get those lists, you keep adding names of people's addresses, and you don't want them, is there a way to get them?
Yeah, I'm gonna do that. So that's in 2 more things.
Okay.
And that's one that's going to be the price of it, worth the price of admission, is to find out, because inevitably we filled out one and we put somebody's wrong address and you start typing it in and it comes up all the time. So first, what I want to talk about is when you do a new message, you have the option of using any of your email accounts by clicking on this. But since you're going to transition to Gmail, what we want to do is set it up so that when we compose a new email, we click on, we're in Mail Preferences, and we go to Composing. We want to tell it, anytime I make a new message, what do I want to be the default? And this is where, Alfreda, what you wanted here is, choose the account you want to send it from when it's a new message. Remember this, only on a new message. Okay? We're going to go into this after the break, we're going to talk more about this whole preference pane thing because it's really kind of neat. Now.
So it's under composing, not signature.
Right.
That's right.
So it's in Mail Preferences and it's under Composing, and then you say Send New Message As. Now the problem with this is, how it's set by default, which I find is kind of crazy, it's usually set by account of selected mailbox. In other words, if I'm on this mailbox, it will send it from that mailbox. If I'm on this mailbox, it will send it from that one. I'd rather have a new message go from what I choose, so I select that one. Now, what happens when you reply? I have 2 email accounts here. So I'm on my one that's called AHA Gmail. So if I click on this one, and I hit, remember, mine is set, what's my default one? KenSpencer@Mac.com, right? So when I hit New Message, it's always going to go from KenSpencer.com, but I have the option of clicking on that and choosing which one. All right? That is always there. Now, if I reply, and this one came to this address, and if I hit reply or forward, look at this. It goes from AHA Merchandising, because it will always reply from the email address it was sent to. So this is great for the most part, because remember, you might have that throwaway email address, or you might have a work email address or a personal email address. So you really want that to happen. No matter what I set for new messages, it will always reply from whichever one it's sent to, but I can go up here and change it. Okay? So, let's talk about this. If we're going to migrate away from SBC Yahoo, and someone sends you an email, it's fruitless to reply to it. If you want them to get used to your new email address, you can't help but make it reply. I have some tricks I can do. We're not going to do that today, but basically, you would go ahead and send this back to them, and you would select your new Gmail address so that they get used to having it and they can add it to it. So reply will always default from where it was sent, but you can change it, okay? And then what you can do is you can add, we're going to talk about signatures after the fact too. So I have my iCloud email address. When I hit reply on this one, it goes from the email address it was sent to, okay? Any questions on that? Go ahead.
My iPhone, I used a couple times. I used my iCloud, Apple's address to send something to work,
Right?
and never receive it.
You might want to, they might have it set up in their spam filters. You might tell them you need to activate. In fact, just this same account I just showed you about, the guys, it's a large company, Johnson Level. my email would not get through to him because it was not authorized to go as a Gmail. So you have to talk to them and tell them to open up the path. What we're going to do right now, though, is show you how to set your default on your iPhone and your iPad. So if I go to Reflection, and here we're in Mail Program, but what I have to do is I have to go into the settings. And in settings, I scroll on down to Mail, Contacts, and Calendars. Okay?
This will be the same on the phone.
Yes, exactly the same. In fact, my phone's just doesn't, I don't think it's working. I'm on the wrong, yeah, I should be. Let's see if I can get the phone up. Little tricky program I have here called Reflector. It's wonderful. So the same thing, I'll go to Mail, Contacts, and Calendars. So I have the iPad and the iPhone. I have a few more email addresses on my iPhone, you can tell. But I want to, well, just pay attention to the one on the iPad because it's a little bit bigger. So if I go down here, so you'll notice at the top, it's all your different mail accounts. Oh, it's a little slow to respond. And actually, if you wanted to add an account, that's where you would do it. And we're going to add an account after the break. So if I scroll down here, you'll notice it says default account. So just like we set in Mail, which account do we want to be the one that it goes from by choice? I just simply tap on the little arrow, I tap on the chevron, and then I get my choice of which account I want to be the default when I do a new message. Okay? Again, that's only for the new message. Let's go back and show you how we change it on a reply. So I double tap the home button, tap on Mail. Now, this one got sent to a certain email, so I'm going to hit reply. Now the screen comes up like this, and if you'll notice it says to, but it shows it's going to go from that Gmail account. So if I tap where the Gmail account is, it opens up this window. Then I have to hit the from again, and now I can choose. It's a little bit harder. This is going to be easier in iOS 7 in the fall. But I can select which one I want to send it from. So I'll go back over that. Reply. I have to tap on right here, CC, BCC from, to expand the window. Because remember, there's on an iPhone and stuff, you don't have a big screen, so they're making it so you have room. Then I come down here and I tap on from, and I get my list of my email accounts that I want to send it from. Okay? And that works the same on the iPhone. So, new message though, which is in the upper right up here. Has everyone sent an email from their iPad or their iPhone? Anybody who hasn't? Okay. Yeah, so if you go into your mail account, up in the right here, that's compose. It's a little square with a line, and I press on that. How many here have something older than an iPhone? So, okay, raise your hand if you have an iPhone 4S, an iPad mini, or an iPad 3 or 4, or an iPhone 5. Okay, who isn't one of those that has an iOS device that's got a 3 or a 4? Okay, you don't have Siri. So, who's your carrier? No, for your phone? Verizon? Are you due for an upgrade?
Yeah.
Okay. Mary, are you due for an upgrade? Well, oh, it's very worth it. And I'm the cheap guy, remember? Because you can go to Walmart and get them for $129, and I found out something new that is interesting. We'll get back to mail in a second. Because this is key. There's a reason I had this webpage loaded. First of all, what iPhone do you have? A 4? You don't have one? Okay. You need one. Your iPhone 4 is probably worth about, it's a Verizon iPhone 4. It's worth about 50 or 60 bucks as trade-in, okay? Because people want to buy it without a contract. But since we have a lot of new stuff coming in the fall, the iPhone 4 can do some of the things that the fall have, but you can go right now, you can get a 4S for 39 bucks, but I would go to the 5 for 129 because you got to remember it's what you need 2 years from now. And this applies to anybody, even if you have a 4S and you're out of contract. Yes, there's likely a 5S coming in the fall, we think, and there's also going to be a inexpensive iPhone that'll be plastic, it looks like, and it might be selling for like $199 before you do any discounts and stuff. But this is a great deal on a 5 because in 2 years from now you're going to be able to sell it for more than $129. But Walmart is the only provider I know, yes, I have stock in there, but I know all this fear, uncertainty. People hate Walmart. Now, look, it's the Food and Commercial Workers Union that give you all this stuff about Walmart. They do a lot for the community. But for 129 bucks, when you buy a phone from anywhere else, you have to do a 2-year contract, also with Walmart. And the reason they sell you, normally this phone's $199. But Verizon, AT&T, Best Buy, they actually paid Apple $650 for that phone. They're subsidizing the price, and that's why you get it for $199 normally. And they make you sign a 2-year contract. So everybody complains about these 2-year contracts, but they really don't want to spend $650 for the phone. You can spend, like, there's a lot of new players now, Virgin Mobile, some of those where you can buy the phone and then you get less monthly. But if you're on Verizon and you like it, or you're on AT&T and you can get okay coverage, you can go get this. But everywhere else in California except Walmart charges you about $50 tax because it's based on the full $650. At Walmart, they charge you the tax on the 129 bucks. It's about 10 bucks.
Wow.
So you save an additional 40 bucks. I don't know how they do it. I'm not complaining. Okay? And of course, your carrier upgrade sometimes will charge you like a $35. Then the question comes up, I'm with Verizon. I don't have to go to a Verizon store? No, you don't. If your contract is eligible to be upgraded, you can go to the Apple Store for a great experience. You can go to Best Buy. They have a good deal. They'll give you, I don't know if it's still going, but they would give you for an iPhone 4, they'll give you $150 trade-in, and they're selling the iPhone for $150, except you're going to pay the big tax on it. So try them out and see. You guys email me. We'll see what's if you need to upgrade or want to upgrade, not need, if you want to upgrade. But the reason you want an iPhone 5 over a 4S, even though it's about $100 more, 2 years from now when you go to sell it, you're going to get that $100 back because it'll be worth much more than the iPhone 4S was. 4S has Siri and the 5 has Siri.
You would do this with a 5 even though they're going to come out with new stuff in 2 months?
You know, it depends. It's a great deal now. When the new one comes out, when the 5S comes out, it's going to be $199. So you got to look at it like, well, it's what, $60 difference?
Are the changes significant that won't be there?
Good question. Rumors are, and I predicted this a year and a half ago, Apple bought a fingerprint recognition company called Authentech. And we all know about password hell. Well, if we had on our iOS device or on our computer, if we had a fingerprint reader, it would do it. I frankly don't think it's going to make it into the iPhone 5. I think that will come when we get the iPhone 6. Because I don't think there's room in it for that, and I don't think it's perfected, and Apple will not put it out until it's perfected. I think if you've languished long enough, that's a decision you have to make. You can keep waiting and keep waiting and keep waiting. You know, that's hard to tell. Bart?
Do you basically trade up a phone every 2 years?
I trade up every year. I have a unique situation, but let me tell you how hard it is for me to trade up. Actually, my mom and I are on a family plan, so I've got her on my family plan. And since she uses, actually, here's a great thing for elderly people. You don't want to pay that I can't get up $60 a month type thing. I purchased over at Fry's for my mom for $60 an unlocked phone. It works on AT&T. We just took a regular Samsung Sync and put a SIM card in it, and it's an SOS phone. It works like a regular phone. It's really small. It's light enough she could wear it around her neck. She's 88 years old, and You know, when she was living in Arizona and stuff, she has at her house, she has the alarm panic button. But this way, in case she's fallen and can't get up, you press the button on the back of this phone, and you hold it for 3 seconds, and it lets out a big, so it's like if you're getting attacked in the parking lot, it'll make a big noise. But what it also does is call 911, and as soon as you've let go of it, it becomes a two-way speakerphone. Because you don't have to, can you imagine, yeah, I can't move, but I can hold my phone up to my ear. So it's a two-way speakerphone. And it also can send my brother and myself text messages if needed at the same time. And it's a great phone, and it just works with your regular contract. But what we have is a family plan. So she's eligible for an upgrade every year. I'm eligible for an upgrade every year. So I flip-flop. And my iPhone 4S in October, when I got the iPhone 5, I sold my iPhone. So I get the 32 gigabyte model for $299. So I bought the old 4S for $299. I sold it in last October when I got this phone for $425. So it pays me to do that every year because people want to buy them without a contract. And by the way, the iPhone 5 on Verizon is the very best phone you can travel internationally with. Because it comes unlocked, you can go over and you can go to England, you can go to France, and you take their little SIM card and put it in there. If you're over there for a week, don't worry about it. But if you're over there for a lengthy period of time and you want to use data and you want to use everything that's good on the iPhone, you just slip their little SIM card in and off you go. So, all right. So, and be careful when you travel internationally on your current phones, if it's an AT&T or a T-Mobile and stuff, because the data charges can be horrendous. Check into it ahead of time. It can be really bad. All right, back to mail. I think we got your thing. What was your other thing to do?
The mail I sent doesn't show up.
All right.
The current one, it'll be like a month old.
So if you go over here, so on the sidebar, up here is our normal sent folder, right? What that sent folder means there is, that's the stuff I sent from my computer is stored there. But I have these other folders down here. My iCloud, I don't have my iCloud sent folder, but in Gmail, I can go down here and check all my sent mail on all my Gmail. Okay?
Well, this is on my iPad.
Okay, let's go to that. So if I go to cancel, here's another big thing. When you're on your iPad or your iOS device, you might have multiple email addresses. So up here where it says mailboxes, tap on that, and here's your list of all your boxes, right? But if we go down here and I hit, let's say, AHA Merchandise or even iCloud, look at this. There's your sent folder right there.
And I hit it, but it doesn't have the current sent. It'll be a month old sent.
Where did you send it from?
Well, I hit it, where did I send it from?
No, but I'm saying, did you send it from that device?
Generally, yeah.
Okay, if it's in that device, it'll be...
This is a 1.
Yeah, but it should be okay. But if you go back up here to iCloud, you can check right here in this, that's the sent for up, yeah, that's, so if I go to iCloud, no, see, it would all be down here. It should do it.
See, like the last one is 514.
Are you connected to the internet right now?
No, but even if I'm connected.
So here's how to refresh your screen on your iOS device. I go up here and I pull down on this and see the little squirrel I get up top. I pull down. Oops. There's a delay. See the little thing spins around? That's checking for mail, and you can always check right here. Updated. It'll do the same thing on the refresh. So Barb, I can take a look at that, but it should be there.
We'll have to.
So again, back here, mailboxes, and you want to be on all inboxes so you get all your mail, okay? Sure.
Does it hurt me to have Yahoo as a junk place that I give businesses?
No, I think it goes hand in hand.
Okay, so that's on my devices. I have a Yahoo account, but I give that out for junk.
Yeah, and that's fine. And on your iOS device, Yahoo's not as bad, but there still sometimes are some connection issues. But the other thing is, how many have gotten emails saying that so-and-so had their passport stolen and they need $200 to get to the embassy to do all that? And you know what? I can bet you that 80% of the time that's a Yahoo account. Now, Yahoo didn't get hacked. That person probably had, and it's not always the person that it says it came from. It might have been somebody else that's in their address book. They got hijacked. And it's very common on Yahoo. Now, you know me, Mr. Convenience. I got to tell you, security on your email is the most important place anywhere. It's the keys to the kingdom. If you need to go in and reset your password for your bank, if you're viewing the website for the bank, how do you get that? How does it happen? They send you an email saying click on this link to do it. Well, if I could get your email, I could go in and change your password on your bank account and do whatever I want. So your email is the keys to the kingdom. And it's important. Now, Gmail has the thing you have. First of all, they usually require a very secure password. It has to be 8 characters, include 1 number. Okay? Never, ever use words that are in a dictionary unless you put something in the middle of the word. Okay? Because there are programs that go through and they sit there and they try to get in and they go through every word that's in the dictionary. But if you have the word bozo, for instance, but I don't know if that's in the dictionary. Let's say clown. But you, instead of clown, you do CL0WN. That'd be harder than clown, wouldn't it? So things like that you need to do instead of an S, a $sign. Certain things like that might help. But they have programs that will sit there and just bombard it with every word in the dictionary. But Gmail offers, and so does Apple iCloud now, what's called 2-factor authentication. You can register your cell phone along with your email as verification. So if someone tries to go in and change your password, they'll send you a text and say, hey, someone's trying to change your password. If it's you, enter this code. And you go back into the website and then you enter the code because you've verified ahead of time. You've attached your phone, your text, to your account. And there the 2-factor authentication works. Go ahead.
Where do you go to do that?
It's in your settings for your account in Gmail, in security. I'll try to visit that at the end. I don't personally use 2-factor authentication, but what I'm doing now is getting more secure passwords. And don't use the same password. Now, I used to not care about this, but the problem is if you use the same password on multiple sites, let's say we talked about Bob's Burgers earlier, and you went to there and you had a username and a password. Your username is a lot of times your email address. So if you use the same password there, and we know Gmail and we know Apple are very secure, but Bob's Burger might get hacked. And if they get hacked and they say that this email address uses this password, they might try to go to that email and use that same password. So what I do now is, until we get keychain in the iCloud, sorry about that, I'm doing a new thing with my passwords. I have one password that I use 3 variations of it. It happens to be the first letter of my first name and 4 letters of my last name, and then sometimes a number, sometimes not. But what I do now is, so let's just take a simple password. Let's see, spend, which isn't mine. Okay. What I could do is I make one, because that's a nice short password. But sometimes it's not long enough, so I'll add a digit in here. S3 pend. Or if I need more, I go S333 pen. So they're kind of 3 variations of the same password. I put numbers in there. But it works pretty well because I've broken it up. But what I've done now is, because if I use this one on Bob's Burger and it's the same as my email, what I do now is I take a suffix to that and I put on the end, like Bob's Burger, I put BB. Or if it's iTunes, IT. Or Gmail, GM. Now, the trick is remembering what that code is, but you're usually pretty good. And I just pick 2 letters that seem appropriate, okay? Apple would be tough. I don't know what I'd use, but it's, So anyway, that's a little trick to do it, which helps. because then you've got a different one for Bob's Burgers than you have for Gmail, that you have for eBay, EB for eBay, things like that. So that just to me is simple because it's derivations of the same password. Any thoughts or questions on that? Again, email is your keys to the kingdom, okay? So it's really, really, really important that you make that secure. Gmail makes you do a fairly secure password. Now, who here does not have Gmail at this point? Does not. Okay, good. We're going to go through a Gmail setup after the break and show you how easy it is because, and I'm going to tease you with this, you get some other things when you get Gmail. You get 15 gigabytes of free online storage. You get Google, that's part of Google Drive, which has also got a word processor, an Excel spreadsheet, a presentation. You have all the stuff they offer you. But no one's asked the question of, well, is it safe? And I hear Google reads over all of my mail. Yeah, as Bob said, everybody reads all your mail. How come I can never get it then, you know? I mean, so the new thing is, if you lose your email or you lose stuff, you have to go to the NSA and say, hey, do you have that copy? I lost it. So, and I'm sure they'll give you a great response. It's funny because I just heard about a thing where a lawyer has now said he's subpoenaed, it's a divorce thing, and he's subpoenaed the NSA to get some of the emails in this thing or something. I'm like, well, yeah, like he wasn't already being looked at by the NSA. So I don't know. You know, I mean, we all laugh and it's sad, but I think it's an awakening too. And there are ways around it, but I think they can get it. And you know what? I think if you go from first of all, if you use a work email address, by law, they're able to monitor that and read it all they want, which makes sense. You're working for them. You're on their time. They can see that you're doing on Facebook and everything else. Or I think if you just go under the pretense that, hey, they're reading all my stuff, just operate accordingly. And they were listening to your phone calls. I guess the only thing left is we're going to go back to one-to-one, either smoke signals or one-to-one conversations, and don't forget to turn the music up really loud in the background. Okay? Yeah, and all the Tom Clancy novels and everything. So, anyway, let's take a little bit of an early break, 2 minutes. Let's come on back at about 10:30, 10:35. New people, you're welcome downstairs. We have triage. I think we have the cafe down there. There might be some coffee and some other stuff set up. And feel free to get me with questions if you want. Alfredo, did that take care of your thing?
Recording. Stop your recording.
I can't. Oh, thank you. Thanks, Charlie. Hang on one sec here. Screen recording.